Is that picture a good start? I like this picture.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. Hey, everybody. My name is Alex. Welcome to. I don't even remember how to do my intro. I haven't been live in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Whatever my show is called. Gonna have an awesome stream today. I have a guest, chronologist, very knowledgeable guy in a lot of the topics that we've been talking about on this show. And
Okay, if you can hear me, I can't hear you.
you can't hear me? I can hear you just fine.
There it is. Sorry, something happened to the volume. I can hear you now. Go for
Okay, sweet.
it.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I got a guest today. Very happy to have him. Um, Chronologist. He's a mutual on X and very knowledgeable about a lot of this stuff that I've discussed on this channel. Um, and yeah, he's informed me on some. He really brought me up to speed on the Fomenko's new chronology stuff, which I've talked about on this channel. And I'm excited to have you here, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous, surprisingly. I didn't think I would be, but I hope it goes well.
Well, there's a lot riding on this. We got about three or four people, five live viewers, and I'm sure their expectations are pretty high. So, but I,
Like I told you, I guaranteed you 4 new viewers and at least 50 unsubscribes.
yeah, yeah. So why do you say why are people gonna unsubscribe? And I'm totally fine with that. If they
Oh, I don't.
do,
People get mad at me. I don't like. I don't understand it. I understand why normies get mad when you tell them stuff that's crazy or whatever. But like, if you're already into like, if you think the Earth's flat, and I tell you something like, "Come on, man, like, give me a
yeah,
chance." But no, I think we could get into more detail on it. But I think they think I'm taking something away specifically from like free energy and stuff. But I'm not. But I think that's like the instinct that I'm trying to find some sneaky way to like,
hmm.
you know to ruin that for them, but definitely not.
Well, I'm definitely interested in what things people get mad at you for because I feel like that's usually where people get mad when they've invested a lot of time into a theory and then someone points out like something wrong with their idea, I think.
Spot on with the little season. When I first heard about it, I didn't think much of it at all. And then I went on True Social and I was like, hey, just hypothetically, if the little season with those people necessarily know they're living in that season. And seeing if anybody had any thoughts on it. And people freaked out, like got
Mm-hmm.
mad about it. And I was like, oh, well, hold on now. Maybe there's something to this. And yeah, man, that's the big one, the end of the rabbit holes right there.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have you're gonna talk some about the the World's Fairs, and I feel like what you're bringing with that is something that probably pisses some people off too.
Yeah, also, I'm not gonna lie, the way I present myself online isn't like always the most friendly way to go about it. But also, depends on the person. I find it works both ways, being sometimes you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. But sometimes if somebody's hypnotized and they think they're a chicken or a dog or something, because some hypnotist, tricked them into it, sometimes you gotta slap them in the face, it works sometimes. So I just kind of pick my battles, but yeah, and I pick wrong sometimes, I guess.
Yeah,
Uh
that's
what
fair enough.
As far as what we talk about, I was gonna say we before the show started that like, man, I hate when people just chit chat forever. So just like to cut to the chase, like kind of the it's not that big of a thing, I don't think.
Yeah.
But the key here that just would get across everyone this uncontroversially true is that every single one of these World Fairs photos is at a minimum manipulated, edited, doctored in some way. And I would say the vast majority I'm looking at, they're heavily manipulated, heavily edited, and it's not a controversy because that's the way photography was. I happen to have gone to school for photography like a million years ago. I'm not been a professional photographer in a long time. I only did it for a few years. I guess I just kind of forgot that people didn't, I took history 101 of photography or whatever. And this is kind of basic stuff, that they edited their, it went from painting to photography. And so it was very natural that you would, take a photograph, print it out, and then paint on it. That was just a, normal thought process.
Hmm.
And so what I was going to say, the basic thing here is that These photos don't represent what these places look like at the time their quote unquote photos were taken. Now, that could just mean they were made to look a little nicer. You know, they just cleaned them up a little bit, added a little bit of stuff here and there to make the composition look nice or fix the lighting. Maybe that's all they did, you know? Or maybe it went a lot farther than that. I don't know. I just want everyone in our community who's into these world fairs, a lot of us love this stuff. Help me out here. Now that we know they're fake, you know, where can we go from there? Let me see if I can zoom on this photo real quick and go. You feel free to talk, but
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I would just as I see it right away. That building is squished right there. You
Mm.
see it? Yeah, that's any architect out there watching this of you four, which True Faith Catholic guy, super cool. He's on True Social and X, super cool Catholic guy. He's in engineering and architecture, and yeah, a guy like that looks at this. Come on, man, that's squished. I don't know how you don't see that squished. But
Mm.
then look at this kid right here. You see this kid? He's
Yeah.
completely painted in. This kid's not there. So we know I'm not saying anything uncontroversial when I say they added fake people to the photos. All I'm asking, just like the little season question, we know for sure they did that. Hypothetically, how many did they paint in? Because here's some more people back here. Just a photograph of some people, right? I don't know, man. You
Yeah.
just got a picture that's painted in. Back here, are all the people painted in? But then look, what's this over here? This like ghost figure. Okay, so was it a photograph? How much is painted? What's all this junk over here? How damaged was this? How old is it? How long has it been here? How much has it been retouched? Why aren't these lined up? Why are these crooked like this?
Huh.
On and on and on. Now, if you follow me on X or Truth at all, you know I got some wild theories and they change every 2 or 3 days, and I could talk about it. But that's the main thing. If you're gonna log off now, I wanted to get that across. This is just one photo, but I got a bunch more here. I don't. Hang on a sec. I don't even know what. I just randomly grabbed photos, so I have no idea. Yeah, let me open this one. This was the one right after I watched that McCoskey video. If anybody's not familiar with Howdy McCoskey, he's not really that big of a conspiracy theorist. Seems like nobody knows who he is, but he is the guy on the World Fairs. So if you're not familiar with him, go look him up now. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got a book on the World Fairs, and he's great. I got a couple threads on him. But anyway, after that video, so he did a video with Marvelous Old World, who I just found out today passed away.
Mm.
Great guy. Man, just hard to hear. Last time I talked to him, it sounded like everything was like getting better or whatever. But he did a video with Howdy McCoskey, and McCoskey just kind of offhandedly late in the video, he made the point that all these shots are from above, and that he said it was like they're shooting a model in a diorama. Wouldn't that be crazy? And like kind of just moved on with it after kind of making a few points. And after the video, I looked this one up. I think they mentioned this video or this picture, and
Yeah.
I just started looking at it, and man, I'm sorry. I don't know how much of it's a photograph, how much of it's painted, how much of it's a model, how many of these people are real, but you start looking at them close, uh, you start noticing weird stuff about them. And this is the highest definition I could get. But I could go on and on about. I've looked at these photos like a lot, and I got like every one of them's got one blurry foot. They
Huh.
never got two blurry feet. But I found some that are straight up claymation, on and on and on. Let me stop there. That was like the big thing I wanted to get across. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. Cool, man. I looked up that clip that you were just talking
Mm.
about, where McCluskey is talking about that, and I knew this was an angle where you were going. I've told you before. I kind of made a point to like, I want you to tell me about it. I want to like exhaustively look into it before we talk. But I saw that clip, and yeah, that's totally true. They're all these sort of far away above shots, and well, and then the reason that just to zoom out a little bit, the reason we're questioning this in the first place is that the official story of the World's Fairs makes no sense at all. Right.
No
So
sense.
so there has to be an alternative explanation, and people have different theories. But the theory is that they built like acres and acres of what look like, peak Rome architecture. And but they built them out of plaster, and they built them in 2 years in order to have like 1 million people come visit to show them the way of the future for some reason, and then they destroyed them all. And that is like, that doesn't make any sense. But then the more you look into it, it makes less and less sense. So I'm curious your thoughts. So the idea that it's a model makes, that would be a lot more, infinitely more plausible than what we're told. But then the next question is like, okay, well, what's the purpose of all of this?
So yeah, that why do people get mad at me? It's like, well, the official story, if you hadn't read John Levi's book or like, these if you hadn't looked in the official story, that's ludicrous. I mean, I could be pitching over here that like little gnomes came out the ground and built this stuff and it'd be more believable than the real story. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. Like that how did they feed the workers? How did, I'm not even going to go into it. If you haven't done the research on that part, man, I know the 4 people watching know what I'm talking about, but it's impossible. And so what I'm saying, they say they had this many workers, they had this much time. It was built out of what? Plaster and chicken wire. It was supposed to be temporary, yada yada yada. Well, if I hadn't told you we were talking about world fairs, if instead I talked about a movie set, we're going to shoot Godzilla, with in a Tokyo, you would know without me saying anything that we would only possibly be making a model, for that kind of thing. And let me just say real quick, because this, I guess, to clarify something people get upset about. I'm not saying there weren't real buildings there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, back to the beginning, I'm just saying they didn't look like this when this photo was taken. They look different than this. How different did they look and why? Goes to that whole story. Like, what is going on here? Would they need to fake these photos? Why were they having these fairs? How did they build these things? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm open to this. First of all, because I've followed you for a few months, and you've proved to be pretty credible and insightful. But so
Thank you.
there's
You
the
were like my first real follower, by the way. I just started posting months
yeah.
ago.
This is outrageous. You should have a lot more followers. But um, so okay, so the official story is sort of the most nonsense, and then the conspiracy theory, quote unquote, that where some people have been going with it. There's the whole Tartaria theory, which then the millennial reign and Little Season stuff makes a lot more sense than that, and it brings a Christian perspective. But I've had still a problem with the idea that like America was like this fully developed, millennial kingdom area. Like that's totally possible. But then, like, if it's as expansive as the World's Fairs, and so I'm digging a little bit into the World's Fair stuff, realizing like this is supposedly way bigger than I had thought. This isn't like 4 buildings. This is like, half the size of San Francisco and stuff like that. And it's like multiple cities. The scale of that, I had an issue with still too. Like it just was sort of unresolved for me. It was like, okay, really was like there was in Christendom. Certainly, it's possible. There were these spectacular like Roman, millennial reign full on cities, and then they destroyed them all successfully, like within a couple of years, and the whole, the official explanation of the destruction of a lot of this stuff is like fires. Fires don't really burn through giant stone pillars. So, I felt like my backup story of like what's going on, my own understanding with the millennial reign and Satan's little season, there were still definitely questions. So, yeah, I'm definitely, I'm definitely open to what you're saying here.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not, from there, it's just all speculation, like how much was there? I mean, my mind's racing right now. It's like which direction to go in. I could, I could go a million ways with it. So yeah, I would just concur that, like, yeah, that we know the story's bogus, and we don't, it just from there we're guessing. And man, you tell me how I guess how I think most of how deep I go on it. So what do you want me to start? What do you want me to ask me a question? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time you have, but I got plenty of time.
I'm saying I'm wide awake, man. We had a crazy afternoon. I think I was telling you I painted a baseball field in the backyard for my boys. We rode bikes, went to the bike park, and then I gave them that was why they weren't in bed because I gave them this tiny bit of cherry cola slushy, and I don't know if it was just pure sugar or something, man, but they were wired. So no, I just got done with my day like 1 minute before I hopped on here.
Right on. Um, cool. Well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess just feel free to speculate. Like, where does your head go in terms of why they would be faking the existence of all of this? Because it seemed kind of like there's been a lot big effort to cover up the existence of these structures, but you're proposing that before that there was like there was a different agenda at play. And I read your thread. I think it was from today about what did you call it? Uh,
Zillow one?
yeah, yeah. So maybe let's
What's
talk
that
about
title?
that.
The Zillow listing theory of American history.
Yeah,
That's what it hit me looking at, and that wasn't even the World Fairs, and that's I'm trying. I was like kind of thinking I'd stay on the World Fairs here, but let me just find a random one here.
well, yeah,
Uh,
we could stay on the World Fairs if you
but the
like.
concept being, I don't even know what this is. I don't know. I'm sure it's in America. I'm just picking random photos here. It says image 472. But uh, that the idea was that the America was pretty much destroyed by something, and like you said, it wasn't no fires like that. This was they tore through these buildings. You're telling me that's fire? Like, what are you kidding me? You were trying to like light a building on fire? I didn't do that. And that it was pretty well wiped out. I keep saying pockets of survivors. That there were some pockets of survivors out there, and some people on X have been kind of, I mean, man, they're pointing to some stuff where it's like there might have been nobody there. I don't know, but I think there were pockets of survivors out there, people away from like the I guess the city areas or whatnot. And the I call them the top hats. I got different names for them, but the top hats were sent out there to when America was quote unquote discovered. Well, no, 1492, but when it was rediscovered, I guess, after all this. But when they came out there, they were like, hey, this is easy pickings. We can take this whole thing over. And they're like, well, what's the plan? And there was well, taking it over from the people is going to be easy. They're all backwards, and we got all these. I'm thinking they had weapons, tech stuff that the survivors didn't come through with. I call them a peculiar group of people, a particular generation that were set aside there and kind of came through the whatever that reset was
Yeah.
relatively unscathed. They were on top, and yeah, when they came out here, they had to come up with a way to explain. They needed. Let me put it this way: you need a way to explain why these buildings are here, why they're damaged, why we're in charge of everything, and how we're the bosses around here. We need people to
Mm.
help rebuild or to clear debris and so on and so forth. And we've got plenty of money. That's never been the issue with the top people. It's infinite. They never run out. Is money laundering. Like politics today, it's never changed. They got how do you account for all the money coming in? And so they went out there. The soldiers, I would call it. And they went out there quote and fought a war. No, there wasn't no fighting. They just went out there and cleared debris, made set the stage, basically got it rolling. And then you send the photographers out there, the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to him. He comes out here and takes photos of this stuff, and you save those photos right here, the damage and whatnot. You're gonna need those later.
Mm.
And then you do what you got to do to make all this stuff look nice. And then when the new arrivals show up, and we can go down that rabbit hole, but when they start repopulating the area, before those people come, they see all those nice, crazy photos
Yeah.
and all the wow, look at all the opportunity, and this place is booming, and they're who wouldn't want. And we're over here struggling, can't find food. The rivers are tainted, the water's gross. It's all look at America, it's going great. And so you come over there months, from the time you get this idea in your head that you're going to go to this white city, this, down the Yellow Brick Road to Oz, you're going to go see all this stuff. You're in London or something. It's going to be 6 months, a year, or whatever, however long it's going to take you to get there. But that's your plan.
Mm.
You get there, it's all burned down and destroyed, and these top hat guys are in charge.
Hmm.
And buddy, they got a story for you of like how this happened and why this came about. And that all the history you learn in school in Chicago in the 1800s, it was written by these dudes. I could just keep on rambling for
Yeah.
4 hours until
Yeah,
you
yeah,
stop me.
that's good stuff. Can you see the YouTube chat? Because we got a couple of questions in the chat.
So the audio issue earlier, I believe, was from me going to the YouTube, and so I just closed it out. But so if I lose you on audio for a second, I'll be right back because I know what the issue is. But let me try it.
Okay, I
I
can
could
read them also if that is
4
easier.
hours. Test test. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound good still.
Okay, I can hear you, and I can see the chat, and yeah, I can see. You know, it's fun. I've been in tech for almost 15 years, and like I'm not not very techy. Okay, I see everybody. What's Heart of God? I hate when people do this in shows. I'm not gonna do it, but I see you guys. I'm reading through them right now. Go ahead, Bone Broth. What are we at? What's the questions?
So we got Michael Saucedo's asking about the connection to the mud floods.
Yes, Michael. Of course. Come on, man. Yeah, I think the mud floods happened before this. This is like them showing up after the fact or whatever. And honestly, I think that there was a mud flood situation, and then I think not, at some point after was this destructive event. Timing wise, I can speculate, but yes, definitely, it's all. Let me put it this way: with the little season, buddy, the little season is the Big Lebowski's rug of conspiracy theories. It's the grand unified conspiracy theory that all of us have been waiting for since like JFK. We've all been waiting for this. It's here, guys. Like we found it. It really ties the room together. All of it's connected. That's a John Q quote. All of it's connected.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I think the basic idea is we had the millennial reign of Christ that happened for 1,000 years, and then Satan is loosed from his chains, which all that is biblical, and then he's wreaking some sort of destructive havoc on the remains of the millennial reign in an effort to hide it from us. And so, putting all the pieces back together perfectly, might be above our abilities, but these definitely do seem to be some of the pieces. And so, yeah, the mud flood seems like a part of that destruction. Whatever they're calling these fires, whatever that actually was, seems to be a part. And then I think that's a very plausible theory about, because that was a big gap for me too. Is like, how do we get from, how do you get from the rain to like the beginning of the modern era? The beginning of, and we have these top hat guys. We have the secret societies, being in charge of like the Historical Society of London, the Historical Society of this and that, and they're the ones that are in charge of these archives of photos. They're the ones that are in charge of the documents for like, this building was built in this year and stuff like that. But just the logistics of like, well, where'd the people go and where'd the new people come from, and then how did they not know what happened? I feel like you're putting together some stuff there. Oh, look at this.
Oh, sorry, the lag. I already changed it. Let me change it back.
Well, I'm seeing this. These people. This is like
Okay, nice.
a smoking gun. People with a model.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll put it out this way: if you were going to build those fairs, ask any architect. If Truth and Faith or that Rob's another Catholic, who's I will say humors me when it comes to this stuff. I don't think he's really into it, but he helps me out on the architecture side. But ask him if you're going to build one of these fairs, you wouldn't build models first,
Right.
really? Like, I mean, now if you only had, you have 7 days to build 500 square miles of fair, then yeah, maybe you wouldn't do it then, but no, you would build models for it. How and I've looked into it. Yeah, sorry, I could go into detail on it, but yeah, that's a big one there.
Yeah. Friendly Clips is asking what kind of world events were going on as far as geographic changes from wars, etc., like COVID or the Olympics of its time.
I can speak to that.
Great.
Because I wanted to make the Olympics comment. Howdy McCoskey, his book starts off with, you don't plan the Olympics, build the Olympics, host the Olympics, and then blow up the Olympics. That
Mm.
was like his, these are like the Olympics of today, and it, it just didn't make any sense. Every single one of them burned down or whatever. I don't know about geographic, maybe geopolitical, but war wise, I would
Yeah.
say if you go type in a year and then into Google and then type in war, like 1855, 1842, 1867, or Chat GPT, it'll be like, which war are you talking about? Because there's so many of them going on all over the place every single year from, I mean, really late 1700s right up through the Civil War.
Mm.
And I guess I'm not sure if this is where I was going with this, but yeah, what changes were going on? Wars, like a ton of them, and just it's also crazy when you hear what was going on in the 1800s, right? Like 1880s, 1890s, right before this, that they were having like, economic panics, they're having financial issues, there's all sorts of like just stuff that would make you think, oh, and now you're just going to have a giant fair right now.
Yeah.
Uh, if that was geographic changes, I got thoughts on that, but they're totally unrelated to this. But
Yeah, yeah. I think geopolitical is probably what he meant. Um, yeah, it reminds me of like the stories we get about the beginning of the first millennium, where there's like the some of the stuff that what's his name, the German historian talks about, where like, okay, so Rome is completely destroyed, and apparently barbarians with like some axes and spears destroyed it so severely that some of it was buried under a swamp for centuries. And then hundreds of years later, there's another cataclysm, and it's then hundreds of years later, there's another one, and there's all these wars. There's the Punic Wars, and that looks similar to me, where it's like sort of these disasters and wars that seem to be part of an effort to sort of excuse or cover up um, whatever calamity was really going on.
yeah, again, I could say so much stuff. I feel like I almost need you to ask me a direct question. Like, you want to get into Heinz zone, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, yeah. Talk about Heinzen. Yeah, it'd be fun. Let's talk about Heinzen and Fomenko a little
Oh man, we're gonna be here till
bit.
next week.
I mean, you're summarizing a lot like
Here you
well.
go,
So
Saucedo. Michael, what? Tell me, I can't see. Tell me what your name is on True Social, because I know I cannot remember. I know you. I know I've talked to you under this name. I've talked to you under another name, but I can't remember. But you said what caused the mud flood? Precessions, resonance, none of the above. And that bone broth, you were saying getting into hindzone. So let me try to tie those two together real quick.
okay.
No, it's not precessions or resonance. What are you talking about? No, I don't know. But my theory right now is imagine explosions like they're called, I call them crypto, I don't call them, this is an old term for it, crypto explosions. Got this from Noel Hadley of the Unexpected Cosmology. In fact, I got most like everything I know in the last several years from the Unexpected Cosmology. Noel Hadley, go look him up. He's a Torah bro. Don't, if it bothers you, just ignore the Torah bro part. Just pretend like he's got a weird accent or something. Just ignore the Torah bro thing if you want to. Dude's the best on the subject. What was I saying? The what caused it? Crypto explosions, the watchers getting out. That's where I've been thinking for a while now, that these explosions happen. If not, just picture volcanoes or meteorites, whatever you want, but volcanoes. Ash goes in the sky all over the world,
Hmm.
blots out the sun, obviously gets really cold. Tiny flecks of ash or whatever coming down with snow and ice and stuff piles up, however deep. Different parts of the world get more of it than other parts. And it's like this muddy, frozen nastiness or whatever. It wouldn't damage the buildings. It wouldn't knock them over. It wouldn't change their foundations or anything.
Hmm.
As it was falling, people would leave their belongings behind to get away from it or whatever. So on and so forth. I think it would be kind of, I think that Think Mirror is my favorite Q post. I think that everything we're seeing is an inversion of what God did. So this is kind of like an inversion of Trib, Satan's weak attempt at at pulling this off the similar thing or whatever. But as it melts, it would flood into mud around the buildings, and uh, Oh, resonance. That's what you're saying, resonance. Sorry, that's not a dumb guess. That's the soil liquefaction. I think that was a big one early on in the mud flood guessing. And no, that's not a dumb guess. That was like totally what I thought for like 2 years. So I didn't mean to insult you there. But then it would mess up the foundations. The buildings would tilt. Leaning Tower of Pisa. I think that stuff happened. Especially with the mud flood. The way soil liquefaction happens would happen in places along with mud flooding. But what we see in our local towns, by the way, if you're new to this, it's the evidence is in your downtown, your nearest downtown, your hometown. The
Yeah.
buildings we see covered, and the bottom floors covered. It's because that ice and stuff melt. The ice mixed with the ash, I think, melted and is the second driest, is what they call it, in the Hindstone world. Tying that to the Hindstone world, we're told there was a third this that wiped out the left side of Rome, and then there's this 6th century crisis that wiped out the right side of Rome, and then there's this 9th century crisis that wipes out the north, the whole area, and none of them overlap. It just happened to be clean, these three different ones, and it's kind of obvious, like once you studied them and stuff, that no, it's just one collapse, and there was just one rise and one fall, and that was it. There weren't no three separate collapses, and there wasn't this whole separate Viking, northern thing. It was all one thing, and it all came down at the same time. And again, I would say that's like these photos being faked. It was all one thing, and it all came down at the same time under one collapse. Now, from there, we can speculate. When was it? What happened next? Again, that's one I could go on for days talking about. Stop there.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff. Yeah, the like first floors being beneath the ground and stuff like that. That was the first thing that kind of grabbed me into some of this stuff because when I was a little kid, I was born in New York City. I was there till I was 5, and I have not a whole lot of memories of being in New York, but one of them is looking at these buildings and thinking like, why is there a story halfway below the ground? And then when I started learning about more of this stuff, you see the photos where there's excavations and stuff, and sometimes there's like 2 stories beneath the ground, or just other weirdness where it's like, okay, nobody builds buildings like this, and then even like all these cities that have like all these layers. It's like, all right, explain to me when that happens. Like, okay, there's people and they live on the first floor, and then 1,000 years go by of people living in the city. When does the ground become 10 feet above, get 10 feet higher? Like, I never felt like there was any good explanation for that at all. And I think you're right. It makes sense that it would be, volcanic stuff, ash, whatever, falling out of the sky, um, rather than these buildings sinking. Although liquefaction is the thing. So cool. You got the Heinzen
Yeah, and I won't try to
stuff up.
explain it here, but this is the most important GIF I've ever seen.
Okay, cool.
It's like in fact, as I said for years, man, I watched that Toronto conference, the Gunnar Heinsohn Toronto conference. If you haven't seen that, like, no offense to Bone Bra, stop watching this. Go watch that
Yeah,
Toronto. It's like, man, I said
yeah.
for years to push that on people. I can still remember the day the first person on the internet ever was like, "Hey, I watched that video, man." I was like, "Oh my god!" For my True Social friends, it was Lil Lit Ricky. If y'all remember him, I hate to say it, but I think he's passed on. He was medical issues for a while, but anyway, great video. Einstein's a genius.
Yeah.
He passed away unfortunately, but I guess this GIF here though, it's just he's taken like this typical history, and it's like, man, it just lines up in this stair step fashion. And if you just imagine these 300-year segments all happened at the same time, oh, it just all makes perfect sense. It doesn't, and this is something too that always people kind of get mad at chronology folks in general for. Hindsone's not getting rid of history, guys. He's getting rid of phantom years. Like the history stays. Like the
Right.
stories are still there. Fomenko now deals with the duplicates and triplicates, but like there's we're not stealing stuff from you guys. Like, who get mad at us? I don't know where I was going with that. What was the question?
Yeah, I don't remember either. Yeah, Friendly, who's in here, is
Thumbs up, thumbs down. That's right. Sorry, it's Michael Saucedo. Sorry to interrupt you.
no, it's fine. Yeah, Friendly is a friend of mine. He's in here, and when I was, um, he watched my show when I was breaking down the Heinz and stuff, and he immediately was like, "Well, the progression of history makes more sense this way," and it really does. Like, there's all these like, rises and falls, and then gaps, and looking at it that way, it's just a simpler story. It's like, okay, you have antiquity, you have Rome, then you have Jesus, then you have the destruction of Rome and the temple, then you have the kingdom accelerate for 1,000 years, and then you have the destruction of that and these weird, like, all the fires and the orphan trains and the repopulation, and then now we're in modern times where like they act like the previous 1,000 years was superstitious, like gloomy period. Yet there's all these buildings that are like, not possible to build, that were built in the middle of wars and famines and death and stuff.
Yeah, like I said, think mirror. I mean, what a great like just random thought, but that the dark ages were the light ages. You know what I mean? Like it's just the complete inversion of it. I don't know if you want to segue here into Catholicism, but that was, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I know about the Vatican archives and the underground tunnels and the Red Shoe Club, and I know all of it, man. The Viper Room. Like there's not a conspiracy about the Rome Catholic Church Vatican I hadn't heard before,
Mm-hmm.
but they built those buildings.
Right.
Like, hold on now, wait a second. And no, it kind of opened my mind up to it. That that just that maybe that every that's another thing about the little season. It makes everything new again. Every conspiracy you ever looked at, all the histories. I don't want to say it because of the YouTube. I don't know what you get in trouble for saying, but the one thing you can't, I'm pretty confident you can't talk about. Yeah, it's like I'm looking at that in a whole new light. Everything like
Mm.
it's all you again. Again, forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah. So I just looked up that Q post since you mentioned it a couple of times where it says "Think Mirror." So it's just for those not familiar. It says, let's see, I'll get the date and stuff too. Uh,
I don't even know what else is said. I
post
just remember.
post 1953, 8/28, 2018 says "Stay local, U.S. Global equals reflection of local. Think mirror. Know your enemy. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Knowledge is power."
That's a good one.
Yeah, yeah. It's the criticism of Q. Well, I guess one of them is like, this is what my wife said yesterday. She's like, it's still because I was explaining like what's going on now, where the Marines are being deployed from the exact base that Q said Marines would be deployed years ago. So well, this is worth fleshing out a little bit if people don't know. Um, Q said years ago in one of the posts, it says that the National Guard will be deployed and the U.S. Marines will be deployed from Camp Pendleton under the guise of crowd control. And it even lists a couple of the divisions. And like that's exactly what's happening now. So I was explaining that to my wife, and she's open to that, but is skeptical of it, which is understandable, especially not having like gone through it over years. But she was like, it sounds a little bit still like a what do you call that? Like a horoscope, where you could kind of interpret it, but they can't explain like everything that they're going to do in literal terms and then expect it to work.
Man, God bless the Conspira Bro wives out there for putting up with us.
Yeah, for real.
I say my wife will be, she'll be like, yeah, any Q news lately? Like, like you said, she's like open, she's skeptical about it, but she'll be like, yeah, what's going on with what's Q saying about this? I'm like, well, Q doesn't really post anymore, but but
Right.
no, she's funny. She's like the one I use to show, I'm like, am I going insane here, or does this look like a model? And she's like,
Right.
I mean, you're pretty insane, but I gotta say, it does look like a model. Oh, by the way, on the model thing, my boss is a graphic designer of 25 plus years. not famous, but like, man, around here, he's the best of the best. And I don't, bring him into this world very often. But I was like, bro, I need your help here. I need you to look at this. And I showed him some pictures. And dude, with his eye, it didn't take him 2 seconds to start pointing out all this fake stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah,
Nice.
you got kids or anything? What's your? I don't know how personal you get on here, but I have
Uh,
watched like 50 episodes. I thought I subscribed to your channel right away, and I guess I didn't until I just realized like 2 weeks ago. So I've caught a couple of them since then. But yeah, what's your setup?
right on. No, I've been married a while. We want kids, but we're waiting to see if God sends us some. So
We must outbreed the pagans, brother.
yeah, I know. No, we're trying.
Nice. Well, good to hear. I'll pray for you. Well, yeah, definitely
Thanks,
praying
man.
for a bunch of them.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, what do we got here? These Rome timelines.
Oh, I don't know. I was picking my random. I don't even know what's in this folder here. This is just high. You said Hindstone. I searched Hindstone. That's actually. I just clicked the different pictures. Sorry, but that is what's his name? Laurent Guyano. It's French. I'm sure I'm saying it's wrong. Laurent Guyano. But look him up on. He's got a book called Anno Domini, and he's the guy. Hindstone. I love Hindstone. I love Fomenko. The on and on down the list, but he's gone. He's basically me, but he's been at it for 20 years, and he knows a lot more about history, normie history, than could ever dream of knowing.
Mm,
And well, you might he's on a UN's review, UNZ
yeah, yeah,
review.
nice.
He's actually the first millennium revisionist. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but if you've ever been to UN's and read those articles from the first millennium revisionists, which are the best series of articles on the revisionist chronology ever, I mean, that's the one stop shop. You read those 4 or 5 articles, you're caught up. I mean, it's crazy.
Cool.
But that's the guy behind it. He wrote those. What do you call that? Pseudonymously, eponymously.
Uh,
Uh, he but he's come out of the closet on it, and now he's saying. But he also does the that topic that you can't mention on YouTube as well.
yeah, yeah.
He's been on that one. Not a Trump fan, I don't believe, but
Hmm.
and not a Bible believer, not a Christian. Neither was Heinsohn, neither is Fomenko. In fact, I mean, I wouldn't call them rabid atheists, but they are not in our camp. And I think that's an interesting note, by the way, that it's using the foolish to shame the wise. It's crazy to me that, and the people who found the little season, I feel like we're all the people who are new to it. I haven't talked to you about your background or whatever, but I can see, is that tattoos on your hand?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. A Christian convert, became a Christian in 2020, and then Catholic
they sound to be the dude seemed the
officially.
same, the girl seemed the same. Sorry, go ahead.
Uh, uh, Became Catholic officially this spring on Easter, but that was several years in the works. Um,
I'll
so,
get you back. No.
so yeah, definitely kind of stumbled into this stuff, basically being a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, connection unstable.
Is that on
Can
my
you hear me?
end? Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
This is my connection. Okay, sorry. I think I'm back.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay. So, what was the last bit?
Oh,
You just
just
said.
that I kind of stumbled into this being a conspiracy theorist, basically, and just a seeker, trying to figure out what's going on, and now I'm like, it's beyond a doubt that Christianity is true to me, and that the Bible is the closest thing we have to, that it's God's revealed truth to us, and but it's awesome seeing these other people kind of end up coming to similar conclusions, or conclusions on certain different layers, but from a completely different angle. I think Fomenko and Heinzen are really good examples of that.
Yeah, that they're they won't say this, and I mean I've read so much of their work, I know it. I've read, I mean Flamenco's got, I mean I don't know what volume we're up to now, like 9 or 10, but I read the first three, and they're like textbooks. I mean the first one's like they're like textbooks, but and I've got the others, but I use them as reference now or whatever. But I've read so much of their stuff, and they won't say it, but man, they're trying to prove God's wrong. They're trying to prove the Bible's wrong, and
Mm.
that's what they're trying to do. And think mirror. they just, they're proving it right. They're proving all the mistakes that we've made about the Bible, all the assumptions we've had. I'm fighting with these guys on X right now, where they're so certain that blah 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 70 AD, 67 AD. I only use the Bible. Okay, well, where'd you get the AD date come from? Because that was only like in the 11th century that we had AD dates. Like it's not from the Bible; it's from history. And
Right.
you think that it's the big thing I say over and over again. I say it's one of the biggest intellectual discovery of my life that we've interpreted scripture in light of history, as if history is
Mm.
also scripture. That
Yes.
if history says this thing has happened or this thing hasn't happened, then be wrong about that. And it's like, people all agree when you say it like what do they call it? A tautology. Everybody, who wrote histories, was, the victors, whatever. But the same thing with the flat earth stuff in the
Yeah.
early days. People would get on to me and I would say, well, where's, what about the photographs? And I say, what's your source? And they're like, well, the NASA. And who's NASA? The government. Is the government a trustworthy source? No, I don't think they are. And so you got to give me something else. And it cracked it open for me. Same thing here.
Yeah.
Is history a trustworthy source? Because right now, you know what history says? Lee Harvey Oswald assassinated JFK all by himself. That's what history says right now. It sounds like it's changing, hopefully, or people figure it out. But
Yeah.
uh, but you know what I mean? History says, we know what happened on 9/11 according to history, and that was like 20 years ago. You're telling me when they're like, oh, this was built by King so and so in 642 AD and took them 19 years and they used blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, come on. This stuff's made up. The only
Right.
question is just with the photos, how made up are they? What's the. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. You reminded me of something else I wanted to ask you. And but just quickly, I wanted to say like that's the same like you said, same thing with flat Earth. Like uh, the when you start disproving these other things at first, like a lot of Christians will go kicking and screaming, but then it ends up validating the Bible more and more. Um, but yeah, I wanted to ask you. You said something. I saw something interesting on your timeline. You said you don't think Abraham Lincoln existed.
Yeah, let me try this sharing again. That's I think I was talking to Miss Wilson about it that I think the reason why he always wore a top hat is because he's what do you call it, a wax figure, and he had a handle on his head. They just carry him around from photo shoot to photo shoot. Where to start with this guy? Probably this one, and this goes to the photos. This is here. This will be, well, where'd Zoom go? Uh, just so everybody knows, we're using my company's Zoom right now. I changed this to just for this show, so remind me to change it back before I go to work tomorrow. Uh, so back to the fake photos via Lincoln. Uh, this is like
Yeah.
the most famous photo of Lincoln ever. And this is funny too. I've never seen this high resolution quality before, and I looked everywhere, and it's an engraving from it, but it's been touched up. If you go, you can go find the original print, and it's just as bogus as this. But this photo on the right is the most arguably the most famous photo of him or whatever. And on the left is a previous quote unquote photograph. I'm saying quote unquote. If you zoom in on this, you got to be kidding me if you think this is a like a photograph.
Mm.
But zoom on the left is John C. Calhoun. It was supposedly taken before. They didn't have like a regal. The story is they didn't have like a magisterial picture of Lincoln, and so they just stuck his head on here or whatever. Just like when my wife can't stand watching movies with me because if we'd cut to this scene in a movie, I'd be like globe, the
Right.
first thing out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Checkerboard floor,
Right.
like 5 pointed stars. Just the double columns falling over. Look at those twin towers coming down on the right side. The books, the hidden fingers, the hand gestures, on and on and on. So from an Abe Lincoln standpoint, just crazy how fake it is. This, not that one. Hang on, this one. This is like the $5 bill picture. Uh, is it coming up? Hang on.
Not yet.
There it is.
There we go.
That's the one from the $5 bill picture.
Yeah.
Uh, Officially, his head's facing the other way, and they churned it to face this way, so it just looked better for some reason. And officially, that's his body. It's just a different angle or whatever. But we know for sure is they cut his head off and changed it.
Huh.
So again, uncontroversial. We know for a fact this is the case. And if you go look at a $5 bill, I think they've updated it, so it's a little more straight on now. But the old school $5 bill is like from this pic. But all that to say, we know this $5 bill picture of him is quote unquote faked. How fake is it? Is it just, oh, he just wanted a little better angle and so he did this? Maybe, or maybe it not doesn't exist. Let me go. What else I got here? Jefferson Davis. Oh, I gotta open it. Sorry, I'm not very good at tech. Don't tell my clients.
Huh.
Really? Really? Like there, think mirror. Think
Uh-huh.
mirror. I didn't even plan the think mirror thing, by the way. It just came up, but that's, that supposedly these guys are arch nemesis or whatever.
Huh.
Yeah. Look at this. Look at this
I
statue.
I love this
So
photo. Yeah.
I just, man, what a coincidence, right? Or maybe there's just you one wax figure and you just, mold it a little different from shoot to shoot and just touch it up.
Yeah. And could these other guys look more menacing?
Yeah, and I grew up in, I don't know where they are in this photo. I think it's like, Mason-Dixon line era, and I've grown up in the South or whatever. It's not that cold. Why do they always have one cold hand? Why do they always got one hand that's so cold they got to put it in their coat pocket?
Right.
And why is he standing so straight up and down? And I'm telling you, hey, Miss Wilson, if you ever see this video, there's a handle under that hat. I'm telling you.
Huh.
Either they carried the statue around. If they didn't, they just chop him in there. Let me see here. I found some photos today I hadn't even seen before, but this is the execution of the conspirators
Mm.
of what's his name, old Honest Abe, Honest Abe. Hang on, let me get back over here. Uh, I got three of them here. So this is the one. This is the one I've been looking at, and then of course, right before, like earlier today, during my 19 minutes of preparation, I found another one that's different, and I was like, oh crap. But yeah. So this photo, without knowing anything about it except that it was taken pre 1900, it's been doctored, edited, manipulated. How much is the question? And man, the more I started looking in on this will be fun because we can look at the second one that I just saw today. I started looking at it and like just as a conspiracy theorist, I'm thinking like, man, like are they worried about falling? Because everybody's leaning on something, everybody's holding on to something. Every single one of them. There's a couple, and the ones that
Mm.
aren't, or the ones that don't look like they're straight up and down, and then the ones that are doing something are leaning. Uh, Going through these, I'm trying to figure out if these are wax figures. Oh, this guy down here is a good one. This is, I'll tell you too. This isn't like I have some photos that are like clear as day, like they're definitely blobs, wax figures. Maybe I should show those first because once I've established they definitely did this, then it's a little easier to kind of see where I'm going with this here. In fact, I hate to skip like this. It was kind of nice going from Abe to the Civil War, but let's go to I think this puts it away. This is the one that this is the one I posted on Twitter the other day, or what do you call it? X.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still new. uh, this is the cold storage building. The fire. This is when the fire started, supposedly. This photographer got a good shot of this one here. And they say photograph. I just want to stress that too. Some of the photos by the Civil War era, they started calling them images.
Uh-huh.
And you look some of the Civil War stuff. This is an image of a Civil War battle, but they were calling these photographs. And I looked for all the photographs I could find of this. Now this is supposedly not when it's on fire. This is just after it was built. Here's it on fire. Here's just after it's built.
Uh-huh.
And then okay, picture of it on fire. Oh, come on. Embedded CC profile can't open. Oh, it's
There
still
we go.
open. Thank you.
Somebody in the
Uh
chat pointed out, they said, are there clouds in any of these photos? It reminds them of how there's no stars in the sky in almost any of the space photos.
yes. Well, sorry, are there clouds in the sky? That's what's funny. Yes, I can show you a picture in a second. I'm not sure where it is that has clouds in the sky. You know why it has clouds in the sky? Because they're copy and pasted and it's very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, no. If they don't put the clouds in the sky, if they don't, artificially put clouds in there, no, they're all vanilla skies, which if you hadn't, this is a classic conspiracy, probably top 50 all time, but a mind unveiled vanilla skies. Go look that one up on YouTube. Not worth stopping this one for. You can keep watching us, but that's one to put on the list. But the vanilla sky thing, and I'll tell you this: I took history photography 1 and 2. I got an art history minor. I studied all this stuff. Man, I ate it up. I believed every word of it. They're just like, oh well, it's hard to expose for it, and
Mm-hmm.
they you are taking multiple exposures, so the clouds are moving, it's all blurred and grayed and whatnot, and so and as a photographer, haven't I've taken glass plate photos before.
Hmm.
Yeah, adds up. I mean, it makes sense. Perfect, makes perfect sense or whatever. But here's the thing on fire. And stop me at any time. You can't really read it there. I think you can read it here. Hercules ice skating. This is the one I showed my boss the other day because I'm like, come on, man, I need your like expertise here. And then the first thing he says is that's not the same letters. He's done typography for a long time, so he looks at that on the
Yeah.
second picture. That's not the same letters, and I was like, I didn't really. I guess I didn't look that close, but didn't quite see it. And then he sees the first thing I see. What is there smoke coming out of the
Oh, the
letters?
letters. Yeah.
What's going on there? And then where I jumped to this one for is the clay figures, right? I think these are real people, but I mean, I don't have a mouse with me, so I'm having to like manually zoom here. But are these real or fake? I don't know. This guy looks to be cooking. He's moving this horse and buggy here. He's obviously got to get to the next town to build a world fair in like 19 days with some, local help. And I'm using the monitor I'm using. It looks really pixelated. Okay, I can see it on YouTube. Actually, it looks better on YouTube than it does on on my monitor. But these people at the top here, and if it doesn't look good on YouTube, just look these. I can post these pictures on, or they're already posted on my X account. But go zoom in on them on the high quality ones, and those are claymation. I'll eat my hat if you think anyone thinks those are people when you zoom in on them. They're definitely fake people that have been added up here. Don't believe me. Let's keep going. I got some more. All right. I wish I had that little video I made. Where is that little video I made? Uh, well, here's this picture. I'll show you in a second. But again, zooming in on this guy in the middle here. Okay, I guess block me on X because I'm claiming this is fake. I mean, what are you talking about? You see I mean, what are we talking about, folks? And then this guy he just showed up. I guess he wasn't there in the first picture. Let me get back to the first one. Where's
Huh.
he? Like, oh, he's off to the side or something. I gotta close some pictures here. I'm closing. Abe, you're done with you, Abe. You're out of here. Lincoln's done.
Well,
Planning the fair.
the thing about Abe Lincoln that always this is like a major puzzler for me, and I'm curious your take on it because Abe Lincoln not existing would help explain this perhaps. But the coincidence is between him and JFK, and if you know about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, all the coincidences like
Yeah,
dates and
I got them
yeah,
in front of me, so I can read some of them. There's 21 of them, so I'm not going to read all of them. But yeah, okay. So both presidents' surnames contain 7 letters. Both assassinate. Oh, this is a. I need a better list because this is like a skeptic list. So they're making him sound dumber. Uh, Maybe this is good. But yeah, like they're born 100 years apart, they're elected 100 years apart, their names have the same amount of letters. JFK had a secretary named Lincoln. Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy. Kennedy, they're both shot by one person. The person who shot, if I get any of these wrong, I'm just going off the top of my head. But the person who shot Kennedy did so from like a factory and then ran into a theater and got caught. The guy who killed uh, Lincoln shot him in the theater and then ran into a factory and got caught. Um, it just keeps going, and it's like way too much. And if both of these people existed hundreds of years ago, then it would be an easy one. It'd be like, okay, they just lazily like copy and pasted history or whatever. They're just making stuff up, and they couldn't be bothered to come up with. But even then, it's still sort of weird. But my parents were alive when Kennedy was president, so like Kennedy seemed to have been a real person. His nephew is the now in charge, in charge of HHS. So if Lincoln was made up, but I feel like all this information on Lincoln, and maybe maybe this rabbit hole doesn't really go anywhere, but for this conversation, if this stuff is made up about Lincoln, was it made up like are our textbooks? or information about him that new that it was created after Kennedy. Because I know there's a ton of control over what ended up in the textbooks, and before the internet, information was really tightly controlled. But I wonder your take on that, and if you connect that to Lincoln being this sort of made up figure.
Um, how about you've heard the great man theory of history?
Yeah.
JFK, Lincoln, Napoleon, name somebody else, Einstein. Well, I've got kind of like my Zillow listing theory. I got the rent boy theory of history. Man, they're all cutouts. They're all fronts. Even the short mustache guy. In my opinion, I don't. This is me guessing. This is my rent boy theory that they like Shakespeare is the one that where this went off for me. If you look up Curtis Yarvin, big fan of him. I know a lot of people don't like him.
Yeah.
He's
I
got
like
one
the
on Shakespeare.
mustache man more than Yarvin, but go ahead.
Yeah. I think Yarvin's misunderstood. And I think if you look at what Q and Trump are doing, Yarvin's been writing about it for years. It's like, and I mean, it's like,
Huh.
it's crazy. But, and I disagree with him a great deal on a ton of stuff. But for my money, arguably the best living writer. But yeah, trust me, I'm weird. Get that that's not a popular opinion. Like I said, you just lost like 10 subscribers right then.
Yeah.
But, man, I just want to argue about Yarvin being awesome. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Uh, oh gosh, what were you just talking about?
Lincoln and the coincidences, and then you're talking about fake
Shakespeare.
characters.
Yarvin's got his take on Shakespeare. I disagree with his ultimate conclusion, but he's basically comes up with that Marlowe was like it was a Shakespeare's a rent boy, and I don't want to like go into detail about what a rent boy is. Hopefully you can just Google that or whatever. But that the Diddy parties, right? The
Mm,
Justin Biebers that come to the Diddy party and stuff, the ones that do well, the ones that are eager and enthusiastic about it, and they're not treated, they're not they're into it or whatever. They can rise to the top. They get the top spots. They get the top what they get to be presidents and mayors and whatnot. The real people in power. You never see them. Not anywhere in history. Not today. And I'm pro. I like Trump. I guess I would say I'm pro Trump. I'm man optimistic. It's either we're right about Q and Trump or it's been over for so long.
yeah.
Then it's not even like
Then we're
so I
just
feel like
waiting for final judgment. you know.
yeah, it's been over for so long, and hats off to them. They've earned it, like way to go. I mean, you did it, man. Like, nothing we can do about it. So cautiously optimistic that God, maybe God's in control and he's got this and he knows what he's doing. And, maybe that's all going to work out for the good of those who love Christ and are called according to his purpose. But that's just me, black pill away for everybody else. But the rent boy theory, I'm sorry, JFK sounds cool and all, but if he was real, and I mean, I think he was a real person or whatever. Yeah, he's a front guy for it. I think
Mm,
JFK was the end of uh someone who's not a totally under control. Really, I would say Nixon really was the last one. I think Nixon was the dry run after that, where it was like we've got to have complete total control over the president under with blackmail and whatever else that cannot be we can't risk anything going wrong. Where they gave so much power to the president at that point, the Cold War and everything,
mm,
he was going to be the top guy politically in the world. And so from that point forward, they had to make sure they had complete control and they could take him out without the big scene. I'd throw it out there too. The assassination. You got to look up King Kill 33. Get into the symbolism of it and the man is it, that thing was planned way in advance and all the symbolism, everything involved. It was all well thought out, just like 9/11. Just like anything else. History is not scripture; it is scripted. I mean, they are writing this stuff in advance and they're acting it out. Westworld, I think, is a good
mm,
revealing it a little bit.
mm.
Uh, not my biggest wheelhouse, I'll say, but I could keep on going, or you tell me.
Yeah, well, I'm with you on some of those people you mentioned being like cutouts. Einstein for sure. I think Einstein was, about at the level of like, Bill Nye or Neil deGrasse Tyson. A guy worked in a patent office where all of the
Hmm.
cutting edge patents came across his desk. He could just steal whatever he wanted. Guy was quoted as saying that he used to wear socks, but he got a hole in his big toe, so he stopped wearing them. I feel like but that was about the level of intellect that he was really working with. And then, uh, I haven't gone deep on Shakespeare, but Tesla is one that I think
You're gonna
is.
lose more subscribers. Don't say
I know. If I
it.
cared about that,
I
um,
wouldn't be
yeah, uh,
there.
like, yeah. I mean, okay, so we have this old world. Okay, so one the official theory is there's this one super genius, and he figured out everything, and then he went crazy and fell in love with the pigeon, and literally that's the story. And
Yeah.
Edison was smart in business, but Tesla, in spite of being the greatest genius that ever lived, couldn't figure out how to make a business with any of his completely revolutionary tech. Um, Another theory would be that that information was already known and that tech already existed, free energy, uh, you know, wireless energy, and they destroyed it, and they needed, people were going to find evidence of it, so they needed some way to explain it away, and so that's the story that they came up with. So that's kind of where my head goes with that.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you could try this. I could try to tie this back to the fair thing and the photos or whatever. Because as I said, that's what they get mad at me about is that they think I'm like killing them, dogging on them, like ruining the free energy. Because how else could you light those fairs? Is this a good segue? Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, how do they like those spares? Edison, Tesla, were they using free energy? By the way, I'll give a shout out. I have not read it at all. I don't even know what this is, but it's Guy Anderson. I don't believe he's on Twitter, but Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. I just got his book today in the mail. Has history been rewritten? But yeah, it's fine. Sitting right next to me while you're talking. You brought up Tesla. I thought it was funny.
Mm.
Buddy of mine, Fourth Musketeer on X, told me about it. It looks awesome. But yeah, Tesla, the power thing. Uh, yeah, there's definitely some kind of different energy source. Here, let me. Okay, it's late. Surely everybody's logged off. It's just me and you at this point, right?
We still
uh,
we still have the same amount we started with, so it might be
Go to bed, heart of God. You got to work in the morning. Pop, I know you're not doing anything.
that's the
But
tend of
anyway, yeah,
followers. That's the type of followers I tend to get. Is I don't get a lot of them, but I get smart, loyal people, and that's what I go for. So
that's all you need. I always say people always like you're not the only one. I'm not trying to. I mean, I like to pretend to be really arrogant. I'm really not. It's just like a persona or whatever. But that people tell me all the time, you should have more followers. How do you have more likes? Blah blah blah. I always say the right people see everything I post,
yeah, yeah,
everything
that's how I feel
that
too.
I post. Um, the power thing, yeah. That okay. So let's go deep. Not even deep. It just seems obvious to me. If we're right, if the rain already happened, the sun was no more their light by day. I'm pretty confident that's not a new Earth thing necessarily. I think that happened at the beginning of the rain. There
Huh?
was no more. Oh God, you're gonna get me started on awnings. Don't get me started on awnings. But there was no more sun. That there was no more sun like the heat and the what. I love like little warm temperature. If my wife would let me, it'd be 78 degrees in here all the time. I know that you just lost 20 subscribers on that comment. But I love it warm. I like it hot. But no, I think the weather was perfect throughout the rain. It wasn't very windy. So, for example, if you wanted to float stuff up in the air with a balloon, it would be really easy. You could float cities up in the air because you knew there wasn't a storm coming. There wasn't going to be tornadoes, there wasn't lightning, none of that stuff. In the Matrix, and they're like all Terminator, they always burn the sky and they got lightning on all that stuff. I think we've already done it. We got the burnt sky right now. But the
Well,
free energy thing, point there, whatever was going on with the free energy, I don't think they needed much of it. They didn't need to heat and cool things. They didn't need, to whatever the food situation was. Did they really need tons of refrigeration and cooking and all that? Because I think we're all pretty sure a lot of them weren't pooping. The lack of toilets everywhere. So all that to say, the free energy, sure, I'm 100% on board with all of that. I don't think what we're seeing in the World Fair photographs is very much electricity at all. If you look at this picture and you imagine, somebody said, I haven't said diorama yet. I'm sorry. This dioramas all the way down. I keep saying, if you imagine a homeschool kid who gets entered into the, regional diorama making contest, all us public school kids, we make our crappy little, whatever popsicle stick things. And then the homeschool kid shows up with this bad boy, puts it in the box, turns the lights off, and then puts a flashlight behind it. And they've taken an X-Acto knife and they've cut in these little holes all through it. You know, these little
Yeah.
spots out there.
Yeah, totally. It
And then
looks like that.
yeah, and then you go paint some bands on the top, and Bob's your uncle. Now, did this whole building exist, and was it electrified by free energy? Sure, man, I'm open-minded. If you can't tell, I'm pretty open-minded. That could totally be an option. Or maybe you could just look real close at this picture and see that it's definitely a diorama. Yeah, yeah,
No,
sorry, I'm getting wild.
it's no, it's 10 bazillion light bulbs that they commissioned to be created in, however many months they spent on that part of the project. Yeah, that looks like a backlit with holes in it, 100%. I want to go back to something you said because the no more sun and being the earth being lit from the light of heaven. Felt pretty solid that this is talking about new heaven and new earth. What makes you think that that could be talking about the rain? And then what? And then what? The sun came back or what?
So this is if I was going to talk about anything on Earth, this is like what I would want to. This is I said the World Fair photo things. I think that would be hot for everybody in our space. They'd all like it. But that my timeline's different, and it overlaps with some other eschatologies or whatever. And I let me preface this by saying I have so many thoughts. I have so many different nuanced, detailed thoughts on the little season stuff
Hmm.
that I just need y'all to get on board with the general idea, so we can all talk about it. And it runs people off, when you get a.
Right. Well, no. Let's do it.
Okay, yeah. So I don't mind running people off. I'm just like I just would if you heard all that and you still like want to freak out about it, then like okay,
Yeah.
good. Sooner
I
the
mean,
better. Go
we're over
on.
an hour in. I think if anyone made it this far, then they're ready.
Nice. That John's vision in Revelation, in 20, the I only have one chapter in the Bible basically memorized is Revelation 20. And what's funny, that stuff to look it up every time because I constantly get stuff wrong. But the vision, right? He's talking about what he's seeing in like 19 right leading into 20. And then he sees the dragon getting chained up in the pit and stuff, and he sees the thrones. I see
Yeah.
thrones. He goes, I'm your buddy John. I'm telling you what I'm seeing in this. I'm tripping DMT right now, and you're like, man, what are you seeing? And then the way I read it, this is gonna be blasphemous. God forgive me, and please don't put this on bone broth. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Uh,
Thank you.
that all right, buddy. So I'm seeing these thrones and these people. Oh my gosh, you know who it is on the thrones? It's everyone who got beheaded, all those dudes that like wrote it out to the end and like wouldn't give in, they got beheaded. They've been given these thrones. They're like up there with God, like in the judgment seats up there. This is crazy. Wow. Like, the guys I'm talking about. They're the ones that we all happen to know. This isn't part of my vision. I'm just saying something we all happen to know here that you would know what I'm talking about, boys. You know what I'm talking about, right? How those are the guys that end up being the ones who will reign, for 1,000 years and so on and so forth. But anyway, and after that 1,000 years, you know what happens next, right? Satan gets out, that little season, blah blah blah. So anyway, though, back to my vision, what I'm seeing in my vision. Then I see a great white throne, and so in my mind, and that's I've been asking this. What I just pitched to you, that the vision just goes from the thrones to the white throne, the whole 1,000 years and little scene stuff. They get mags. I'm saying it's an aside. It's a parenthetical phrase. It's just he stopped talking about what he's seeing, and now he's talking about what happens, and then he goes back to what he's seeing. All that to say with the sun and everything, and this is a lot bigger than just the sun thing. This changes a lot of the how you could picture where we're at in the world or whatever
Hmm.
in the timeline. Is that when Jesus came back, I guess first century or whatever, with either the first century, like what we think of as the first century, when he came back, or I could also have it with up to 500 years later. But when the rain started,
Yeah.
uh, that's the eternal state started at that point. The earth was being restored and so on and so forth, and it did, and it still is, but we aren't privy to it. We're partitioned off from that side of things. And I could go real deep on that too. I've been all over the place with it. If John Q. Adams ever watches this, he's gonna laugh because he's seen me go like like 50 different directions with this. Which John, if you're listening, I'm more or less back with you, buddy. You made it. You got me there. But that we're I think, let me just put it out there. I think we're in the outer darkness. I think this is the furnace of fire. I think it's essentially hell. I think that the new earth and the new Jerusalem are already here and happening outside of us,
Mm.
outside of where we're at. And that oh man, I should have prepared like this statement. This is what I've been thinking about for a while now. When I say I think this, I'm just saying this is my top pick at the moment. You know what I mean? Like that after seeing it this way, and I've run it by a lot of people, and people the way they react, like they react to flat Earth and Little Caesar and everything else. That can't be what he's saying. The chronology of that verse there, that passage has to be, that no, it's the first the see the thrones first, then all that stuff happens, and then at the other, yeah, the great white throne of judgment already happened is my take on it. I mean, hey, I got my train of thought again. Great White Throne of Judgment already happened. It happened first century, or the second one. I think it was first century. They I thought for a while it was an ongoing courtroom. You die, you go to the courtroom. That was what's going on. But no, I think when the furnace of fire, the outer darkness, the whatever was separated off from it. Oh my gosh, completely lost my train of thought. Paul Stubbs at a conspiracy, you conspiracy says, say what you're thinking out loud because it's like it's hard to get your stuff all together until you say it out loud,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think all that stuff's happening. I think that they're the holy mountain and whatnot, the camp of the saints. I think the camp of the saints is on our side of the fence, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
That the mountain I think might be on our side too, but that there's a stay behind army that at the end of the reign, I think I said first century. Sorry, that's what messed me up. At the end of the reign, it was closed off. The outer darkness was made then. I think it was made before, but it was closed off then. That's when people left here. That's why it was empty. It's part of why it was blown up and stuff. But there was, more happened after they got closed off. That's why it was all we had the kind of the first reset of the little season, I guess. That happened. And I think it's coming down. I think the partition's coming down. I think, it says the veil, I'll destroy in this mountain, the veil covering all the nations, that stuff or whatever.
Mm.
We've been out here in this Hades, this trash pit where they burn the, trash, the fire pit where they burn the trash, Gehenna, hell. Man, could we be in it? I don't know. That's what I've been thinking for probably 6 months now. I've been chewing on it and can't get off of it. So feel
Ah.
free to get me off of it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, this is why I had you on, man. Is because I've been looking for some new perspectives on some of this stuff. So yeah, I mean, a few of the things that you just said. Of course, I don't like the idea of being in in hell. I mean, the hell part, I can't. I would draw the line on the other side of the use of that word because there's still so much
Purgatory.
beauty.
Purgatory.
But well, I don't know. I mean, I think both of those, in my interpretation at least, both of those are not. We're in the land of the living, and that both of those are after you pass into the next realm. But I will say there are other things. Well, we don't need to get hung up on that. There's other parts of what you said that really make sense to me. One is, it says. So I mean, the biggest problem with the end of the millennial reign and Satan's little season is, for me, is what happened to all those people. Did God just let utter destruction on this reign that was built up for 1,000 years, and the total transition of that, and then also like one of the things that came to mind when you're saying that is my kingdom will have no end. So the idea that we're partitioned off as opposed to the millennial reign ended and like went away makes some sense to me. So I mean, so also like Paul from Understanding Conspiracies talked about the idea that there's maybe at the North Pole or something like that. What is it? The city? It's not favorite city, but it's something like that. Beloved city. That's still going on and the saints are still living there. I mean, I guess that's essentially the same idea. So I think there's something to that. I mean, I'm I don't know if you saw my video about Gog and Magog, but I'm convinced that that's what's going on right now. That the Gog and Magog are surrounding the camp of saints, and that's um, people are might. This is another one I'll lose subs for because it sounds racist, and I guess it is. But the global migration of people from India and Muslims and Africa into the global north who hate us, and the Camp of Saints being sort of the remnants of the millennial reign in Europe and America, and we're on the brink of, it seems like this sort of nightmare coalition who hate white Christians, ready to. And I'm kind of half joking that it's racist because I believe we all can be redeemed through Christ, uh, but I I feel pretty convinced that that's where we are on the timeline. Is the Gog and Magog are getting ready to attack the holy city, and then we might see in our lifetime that, and them all be cast into the pit. Those who are rejecting God and are not interested in being redeemed through the love of Christ.
Yes, and I will say this. Well, again, anybody who's followed me knows I change my mind every couple of days. This is what I've been leaning. This is the. I guess this is what's interesting about this one for me is that I have hung on to this thought for months now, which isn't normal for me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm wrong, and let's be honest, I'm probably wrong. My next top pick is Love Is Truth on X. If you follow her, a lot of people think she's a dude. It's a girl. I don't think she gets mad at anybody, but but she is great. I call her the little season Twitter boss. She's like I love her view, which is pretty much what you're saying. I mean, I caught most of it, but I think it's almost spot on what she's saying. That
Mm.
the general idea being that yeah, we're wrapping up the season.
Yeah,
This whole alien invasions coming, that there's going to be that when the New Jerusalem comes down, people are going to gather around to fight it. They're going to think it's alien. I think it's, that there's a big, and love, by the way, if I'm getting that wrong, sorry if I'm not trying to misrepresent you, but that's a more common view that we're getting towards the end of it. People ask me this all the time when they get into it, but how long, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Nobody knows, but a common guess is 1776 to 2026. 250 years, if 1,000 years is the whole thing, a quarter of it sounds like a season. It's
yeah,
a guess. A lot of people say it like it's 100% fact. They don't know. It's just a guess, but it's not a bad guess, I don't think. And that, yeah, I could trust me, bro. I could totally see that. And I've been at this for, I mean, almost 5 years now, and so I've run the gamut of theories. And Twitter, I've been on Twitter long. If you go on True Social and just if you look up Lil Sleazy, go to True Social and type in Sleazy. That's what I've referred to it as for like 3 or 4 years now, and you can see like what I was thinking 3 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago. It's all over the place, man. So, yeah, that I will that I'm just spitballing here, and that that my second favorite, and I think the more common view is along with Love Is Truth on
yeah,
X.
cool. Um,
Real quick, I don't know who's asking about the clouds, but look, here's your clouds. I don't know if it's obvious to you right away, but look at the plane of this cloud going this way, and this one is perpendicular. It's got an angle to it, and like, bro, these are all fake clouds. The only pictures with clouds in it are the ones they pasted the clouds in there.
mm,
Some other thoughts on this picture, just like while I got you, is that one thing McCoskey's pointed out, these boats, if I can get in here, he's yeah, I don't know how clear it is on YouTube or whatever, but you can go through the boat pictures. All the boats are penciled in. Maybe the water is real, but the boats are painted in.
mm,
And I don't know if this is the best example, but McCoskey's got it. I'll say this: it looks like a real fountain to me. I mean, doesn't it? Like, looks like
mm,
that's real. Uh, you know, but this one, this once you've seen the hand drawn and painted lampposts, and they're like this, once think about it this way: once you've made one fake lamppost that's very realistic, you spend a lot of time making one lamppost. Man, copy paste. You can put them everywhere.
mm.
The fire hydrants crack me up. There's all these like there's some of those random places like sticking out. Like people would trip over these things, man. But these guys, and again, I can't tell on this monitor. I might have to drag it over my MacBook to see it, but I can see it on your YouTube. It's a shame. This monitor is so bad.
Mhm.
It looks better on YouTube than my monitor. But I look at these guys, and man, they look fake to me. I go. If I had time to prepare and get some photos together, I've got some more we can get in. You can see the lines on their hands. Also, have you seen, other than the painted faces we've seen, like the little boy, you see a face on any of these people? Like you can never find a face on them, and when you do find one, it's been painted. And just a total random side note that I've never figured out, can't figure it out. The painted faces, they look confused. Like they wanted the people that you could see to look like they were confused. I don't know what to
Hmm.
make of that, but just throwing that one out there too.
So how would you describe, like, how is what you're thinking about in terms of the little season and the timeline? How does that differ from what I was just saying? Like, what distinctions are you making?
That I well, sorry, that's man, just the New Jerusalem's already landed. It's not coming down. That's already
Uh-huh.
happened. Great White Throne of Judgment's already happened. And when we die, we face a judgment of fire. We all pass through the fire, and whatever remains, that's what you're judged on. Uh, Guessing, I'm just guessing here, but that's what I think we're at in history. I think we're past all that. I think, and this is again, if you just gained any little season followers, we'll get ready to lose them now. I think it's over. I think the little season's over. I think we're past it. I think the Watchers have been released. I think we're in an area of time that the Bible gives us only, gives it, paints all these pictures of, but doesn't talk about it. It references it that they're that the really just that the Watchers get out for their Judgment Day. And it's just that, of course that'll be the same Judgment Day as us. Of course that's the Great White Throne of Judgment. Of course that's at the end of everything. I I've got some thoughts. I'm not so sure. That no, I think we're in the end time. That we're past the little season. I think this most latest reset, all that destructive stuff. So I think when Satan got out, he went around burning stuff, laser beaming stuff, doing his little think mirror, his inversion of Trib, burning stuff up, the judgment on Jerusalem or whatever. And then when he got, I think that was like the Tagungska event. I think all these wars, that guy asked what was going on geopolitically. There
Hmm.
was there was 500 different wars all over the world spanning like 75 years. What if it was just one war? And what if it ended quick with the breath of fire from God just came like pouring out of there? I think the little season, like some other stuff in the Bible, Job, Esther, I think the little season paints a picture of the time we're in now. You mentioned Gog Magog. I don't know if you know the Esther and Gog Magog connection, but that's a great one. That we can add it all up using what we've been given in this season of deception. But that yeah, that everything's a trick. It's just the that everything but scripture. I mean, scripture and Jesus. I think that and even, yeah, even scripture, man. It's like it's just how do I put it? Even if it's 100, it's like how do I put it? What was that? Chuck Colson. Chuck, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's like holographic. Has it been cut up and damaged and whatnot? Yeah, but it's not like a piece of. It's not like a photograph. It's different than that. If you take a hologram and you cut it in half, you don't have half an image. You've got the same exact image. It's just not quite as sharp as it was before, but you can still make it out, and you can cut it in half a million times, and you still have the whole picture. And I'll say, give me Luke and half of Psalms, and if with Jesus's help, I'll convert the entire world to Christianity in a month.
Hmm.
It's like I don't think. So just answering the question, like everything's a trick. How can you trust the Bible? And it's like, man, the Bible was engineered by the greatest engineer you could imagine times infinity. I think if he wanted to make it hold up through the biggest deception in history, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be a challenge for him.
Right.
Uh, anyway, did that answer your question to some extent? I guess this is
Yeah, it
late. I was
does. And I just want to say, you've now, I was with you, but you've gone too far. And, you know, I can't co-sign any of this. No,
no, that's fine. I wasn't expecting
no,
it.
yeah, I know. No, I mean, you're definitely like, are thinking outside the box and thinking for yourself, which I respect a lot. Um, and I don't know.
Let me say this. Let me say this. That I think that to be clear, the only thing I'll say on the little season stuff that I'm sure of is that the peak of the reign has passed.
Yeah,
I'm open to us still being in the 1,000 years and Satan hadn't got out or nothing. I'm open minded to that. I'm open minded to the 1776 to 1492. I'm open minded little bit to the 1492 to 1942 time loop a la Michelle Gibson, little Groundhog Day for me. I don't know. I do like that Tom Cruise movie, Live, Die, Repeat. So maybe I could see it. I love that movie. I'm open minded to year 2000. Satan got out year 2000 or 9/11. I always said, I remember 9/11. I said that a second force introduced themselves to a first force on 9/11. Maybe 9/11 when it started. Maybe it's 33 years. Think mirror. It's like Jesus or whatever. Maybe it's very long. It's hundreds of years. Maybe the 1,000 years is much longer than 1,000 years. Maybe the 1,000 years was like 400 years. When I say all this crazy
Yeah,
theory stuff,
yeah, yeah.
all I'm saying is that those World Fair photos have been doctored, and that we're past the peak of the millennial reign described, the 1,000 years described in Revelation. That's all I'm saying for sure. I
Yeah.
got a lot of guesses from there.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that, and I work that way somewhat too. Where I get excited about theories and I entertain them for a while, and a lot of times I end up moving on. Um, and from my perspective, I feel like we're adding unnecessary steps and complexity to it because my view is the millennial reign, Christ came back within a generation like he promised. The millennial reign began. That's when they built all these buildings. Christianity spread throughout the world. And then something, Satan was released. Some kind of cataclysm happened. We now live in the little season. The remnant of the millennial reign is the Catholic Church, who was tasked with safeguarding the faith and safeguarding the Bible. They were they were given divine instructions to allow Satan to deceive all nations because that was part of biblical scripture and prophecy. So they allowed it to happen, and then they themselves became deceived. They forgot, what it was that they're protecting. They don't remember. They don't know everything that's in their library, but they were told, you got to lock this stuff up so Satan can deceive because it's necessary for God's plan. But they preserved the faith. They preserved the Eucharist, and that Christ told us, if you don't eat my blood or drink my blood and eat my flesh, you have no life in you. So everyone needs to become Catholic, and you have to go to mass and eat his blood or eat his flesh and drink his blood because that's what he said. And that also, so that and then now we're towards the end of the little season. Gog and Magog are that's in process, and then what happens next is the New Jerusalem and final judgment. I don't you're spitballing on this is interesting, and there's certain questions that I have that it would answer, but it definitely just seems way more complicated. And there's so much goodness and beauty and love in the world. It doesn't feel like outer darkness. Like I mentioned in response to one of your tweets that that I've experienced God has touched my life in many ways, many times, and so yeah, I don't know. I'm not not hating on what you're saying or anything, but that's my view, and uh, I'm feeling pretty good about it still.
Oh, well, I'm offended and mad, and I'm hanging up.
Good.
I wouldn't expect anybody to believe it. I'm looking. I think what I was trying to make clear earlier too, my catch up, let's get on this little season thing, is so we can engage because I know because I'm out here on an island, theorizing on random stuff, and what was I gonna say? No, yeah, none of that's a problem with me. Trust me, I've heard what you said to me about that I've convinced a lot of people the earth is flat. I've convinced published authors on the topic of eschatology that their eschatology was wrong and that we're in the little season. And believe me, when I first started talking to that guy,
Mm.
yeah, he went on board with it either. I've convinced a lot of people. I mean, just the other day, Eric M, what's up, man? We've been DMing about it, but yeah, he was fighting me on it. And within 5 or 6 comments, total change of tune, which is not to say that I think I'm right because what I'm saying is I need you to catch up so you can argue with me, so you're thinking about it and you'll be mulling it over, and you'll see me talk more about it, and you'll and right now, like what, and just I'm not trying to debate it, but I feel this way, I feel that way. Cool, bro, I feel ways too, but I'm not looking at feelings. I want to know, give me some scripture, let's nail it down. And yeah, the more people that know your views, the more, and how do I put it? That's the way I learn. That's how I've the way I've gotten here is I go tangle with smart guys who either disagree, or even ideally it's like, okay, I don't like that. I don't think it lines. I can think right off the top of my head. I got some problems with that. I was got a gut feeling it's wrong. So yeah, cool. Let's get at it. Let's go after it. Until we in the process of proving me wrong or proving you wrong or whatever, we're gonna get closer to the truth. And what is the truth? That's my favorite Bible verse. Pilate, what is the truth? Yeah, we're trying to get at it, so, and iron sharpens iron and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't take it the wrong way at all.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, look,
for sure,
let's go.
for sure. Uh,
I'm just
yeah,
the,
and
the little
also, I mean, you're like expressing a lot of stuff that I know that there was reasons behind, how you came to uh, some of these ideas. So, I'm not dismissing any of it outright.
Yeah, and let me say this too. I'm only saying this because of how much respect I have for you. What, like not even a few months ago, it seems like you just got introduced to this, and you caught up pretty quick, and that you know enough about you've had enough of me to know that yeah, where I'm coming from. That I'm trying to push the envelope here. A buddy of mine, I don't know what his name on X is, but JJ AAWW on Truth. He's like, you got a long tether, bro. And it's like, yeah, I'm going out, I'm cutting through the weeds, getting out in the wild here, and trying, I'm knocking the Jenga tower over and then starting all over again, like every couple days, and seeing what I can lock in. And that's what I was saying earlier. What can I lock in of everything I've said? Not much. I can lock in that the peak of the rain is past. We are
Hmm.
no longer in the peak of the rain. That the rain did happen. It wasn't the full preterist thing. It's it really did. It was buildings and architecture and kingdoms, integrated empires, I would say, with
Hmm.
different cultures and languages and yada yada. But that so what's happened since then? Is it gotten so bad? We're still in it, but it's gotten so bad. It's like a shading its way into it. Or is it, we're in the little season, or before the little season, or after the little season? Oh, you said something I was gonna caught that I wanted to say, but it's I definitely don't. The one time I stay up this late, I'm definitely not like sharp and thinking clearly. My first meeting was at 7 a.m. this morning, and I rolled
Yeah,
in. So,
yeah, I'm
no,
I'm starting to get a little fuzzy too. Thanks for hanging out for this long. Uh, yeah, I feel like, man, I feel this exceeded my expectations. This is pretty awesome.
nice. I have no idea. I'm curious to watch it back. The I don't know when I'll have time, but well, night. Well, yeah. If you want to, I was gonna say, if you want anything else before we like wrap it up, or I don't. I mean, yeah, I'm up for whatever.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm good to leave it here. I feel like yeah, we got to some deep weird questions. Covered a lot of territory. People in the chat seem to have enjoyed this. So thanks so much for
Nice.
coming on, man. It's good to have a audio conversation with you. We've just gone back and forth a little bit on X and stuff. So it's good to like meet you more, and definitely looking forward to talking with you more, and just finding out, just following along with your all this Jenga that you're doing.
Awesome. Well, yeah. I guess. Thanks for having me. Happy to do it again. I guess. I think. I got a baby coming 25th, so pray for my baby, and then yeah, maybe I won't be back on until a few weeks after we get that taken care of.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'll be praying for you, man. We gotta get some more babies. You can't really be Catholic until you got like 5, 6 kids. I'm not sure what the minimum is, but it's got to be at least five.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I appreciate any prayers, man. I'll definitely pray for you and your family.
Awesome, man. We have a good one. See you on X.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
Peace.
See ya. All right, that was great. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate you guys hanging out. This is a lot of fun. Yeah, just for anybody who's new, I was doing shows every day because I have time off of work in March and April, and now I have the opposite of that. I have no days off all summer. It's kind of the seasonal way that my life works. So I'm gonna try. I'm trying to figure out how it works in my schedule to do one stream a week, but I'm not guaranteeing that. But if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and yada yada. Because I will be back, and yeah, hopefully I'll have Chronologists back on here again. And yeah, follow me on X at a Catholic Ruckus, and definitely would like to meet you guys. Those of you who I don't know already. Shout out to Friendly and Chunky. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Love to see you guys here, and I hope you all have a blessed night. Yeah, ta ta.